Yo, what up, high and wide fam? I'm Delco Dave. I'm joined by Natalie and our very special guest, Miss Nicole Shirman. Nicole, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Natalie, how about yourself?
I'm doing very well.
So the Flyers dropped one. The Flyers stole one today, which is new for us and probably a little shocking for the Islanders recently, considering they were won 4 out of their last 5 coming in. Nicole, what'd you see today?
I saw a tired team. It's a team who played 5 games in the last 7 days, and I mean, it was obvious on the ice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Flyers actually bounced back from what I thought would have been an emotional letdown, considering the trade. Natalie, what you see today from the Flyers?
Yeah, they didn't steal one. I don't know why you said they stole one. I think the Flyers outplayed the Islanders today. It was like the first time in a while we haven't ridden on Carter Hart's shoulders. And I think Tippett really set the tone. And I think when his first few shifts, you realized how the mentality of this entire team, the entire season, because he stood out so much. And then they eventually played to his and looked like a good team today.
That's I agree with what you said about Tippett standing out. From him ringing it off the post early in the game, I feel like he made his presence felt, which is huge considering him being a trade deadline acquisition, and people feeling like it was underwhelming him coming in. People are like weren't happy with him being the centerpiece of that trade, and I think he did. I think he made a huge impact today. Um, Nicole, I think there's been a little bit of trade chatter around the Islanders coming up, but nobody make any moves. What have you been hearing as far as their trade deadline? I think the Flyers trade deadline is pretty much over. We made our big trade. We'll have some other pieces here and there, but our big move was Giroux. What are you hearing from the Islanders side of things as far as trades
Uh,
go?
yeah, I'm hearing that it's going to be a quiet deadline. That if Vets want to go to a contender, they'll be moved, but it's basically counting on them to ask for that. The management thinks this is a team that, with a few tweaks, can go back to contending next season. So I'm not expecting very many moves at all.
Oh well, that's good. It's the exact opposite over here. We think it's headed to a fire sale, basically. I mean, they held out Justin Braun today from the game. I think people were expecting a move. I haven't heard anything yet on that end. Have you, Natalie?
No, no, not at all. I expect Broussard and Jones to go with them, but I mean, I haven't
Yeah, I
heard
think.
anything.
I think Brassard, Braun, Jones are all for sure potential moves there. I don't know if we had anybody else. I don't think we can move any other contracts unless we're going to be able to dump JVR for anything. Basically, would be great.
I just want him off the ice, like not to be mean, but I just want him to stop dragging the team down.
Yeah,
That
I think the
breakaway today
rest of
was everything. That showed everything. The guy's been in the league for how many years, and that's how you end up on a breakaway? And
it feels like he's been in this league forever. To be honest with you, I don't know.
he's playing like he's been in this league forever. Time's up.
100%. But so the Islanders opened the score with an unassisted goal from Cizikas, and then we had a 2-goal game from Kevin Hayes. What you think about Hayes today, Natalie?
I thought he was very fortunate to play with Farabee because Farabee really stepped up today. Those goals that he had, he was wide open. He had to score those goals. But I think Hayes, I thought he was a liability at once, and now he's back to where he was. Now he's an asset out there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that comes with getting healthy. I mean, it only took him like 4 surgeries, but he seems like he's finally looking right. It seems like he's finally doing what we brought him in here to do, and he's playing to his game. But I agree with you with Farabee. I mean, for sure on that first goal was all hustle from Farabee. He made the play there, and Konecny and Hayes had the easiest jobs in the world. One touch pass from Konecny, and Hayes finished it to an empty net. And he almost didn't finish it. Sorokin almost got the save. Hayes, he didn't lift it. He just fired it as best he could. Nicole's smiling there, but yeah, Sorokin almost had that. Hayes almost didn't finish that. But I mean, speaking of Sorokin, 37 shots on goal he faced, stopped 35 of them. I don't think you could ask much more out of Sorokin today, Nicole.
He's been like the one Islander that I've had no complaints over like this season. Especially after the game against the Rangers, you're going in here, you get very little defensive support. You have a team in front of you who's playing undisciplined. I mean, what else can you ask of him for?
Yeah, no, he
We played
actually
very disciplined
absolutely
on our
stood on his
side
head today
today.
for sure.
Like that was, on our side today, I was surprised how
Yeah,
disciplined we played.
well, I mean,
Like
yeah,
we like we
that was new. When I wrote it up about my betting preview for today's game, I actually questioned it. I also pointed out there's going to be a bit of a feeling out period, I think, for the Flyers. It's going to be hard to kind of see exactly what kind of team this is going to be, who's going to be showing up. Like new leaders are going to emerge, younger players are going to have bigger roles. I thought the discipline actually was kind of impressive. I wasn't sure what we were going to get out of this team, but you're right, Nat. Like this team played very disciplined. Is this something that we're going to see all season now? Is this going to be, the next 20 games or so? Is this how you think it's going to close it out?
I
Or is
think
this
it
just a
is.
mirage?
No, I think it is. I think everyone realized today that they have to be mature now. Now there's no captain right now. So everyone, now they've stepped it up a level, and it's only one game. So I don't know where it's going to go next game. All of a sudden, we might be back to where we were. But I really think the way they played today was something that they can sustain, and I think they'll look back at this and say, "Oh, we are not a bad team." Because look on paper. Like, why was this a national game today? Because they thought the Islanders were going to be good and we were going to be good, and both teams underperformed, but there's talent there on both sides. So I think next year you're going to see something different, and you'll see these two teams competing.
I mean, I hope so from a Flyer standpoint. I mean, Nicole, you already mentioned that this management thinks that the New York Islanders management thinks that this team is not far off in just a few tweaks. What did they say about the Islanders as far as what's wrong? What were the Islanders missing that their season went wrong?
Starting off, there were a few major factors. We had that 13-game road trip, then we had COVID. So the start wasn't great. And if we only had one of those, I think we might have a chance at a wild card. But ignoring that, for the past few seasons, fans have been asking for a legitimate scorer, which we don't have. We don't have that sniper who can go in Barzal's wing and finish. And it's not going to be easy to acquire that. We don't know but you have to look for a trade or a free agent who can do that, or else you're going to waste your cup window. And obviously, we have a defensive hole we need to fill. Chara and Green, I don't see them coming back. You sort of have like a hole which Aho is filling, which has been odd. So we need, even if Salah comes up, at least one legitimate defenseman who's not just sort of on the edge of the roster.
Yeah, I mean, your first point about snipers, those kind of guys don't grow on trees. I feel like the Flyers have been looking for one for almost a decade and a half now, for somebody to play with Giroux before we got rid of him. But this for us, this was what I called the first game of the PG era, the post Giroux era, and I couldn't have been more impressed. This was a game that, like Nat said earlier, it seemed like we dominated, and I hope that this team proved to management that they are closer to contending next season as opposed to needing a full rebuild from our perspective. Because, Natalie, we talked about it before this team need to burn it down and, just burn it to the ground and rebuild, start from scratch. And I think a game like this shows that this team has the ability to win games and compete with teams where they're at right now. So, going into this offseason, what do you see that Chuck Fletcher is going to do if this team continues to stay where they're at like they were today? What's he going to do in the offseason to get us back to playoff contention?
That's a great question, because I still think he's stuck on players who are not wonderful, like Brassard and Brown, guys who seem like they're his players. I'm hoping that they just accumulate a lot of picks and we work with what we have. But we do need a center. It's that simple. We just got rid of our best one, and I don't even know if they can get rid of Brassard, because who's going to play center when he's gone? I think center is the biggest need, and he has to do something.
I don't see him acquiring a center at the deadline, though. That's definitely for sure an off-season thing, because I think this is going to be all selling of parts.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, it'll be only if there's any prospects. And I don't know if he's going to get any NHL ready player with what he has left to sell off. I mean, we mentioned it: Braun, Bouchard, maybe JVR if we can find a sucker for that trade right there. So I don't see anybody coming in that'll fill any needs next year in any kind of trade. We made our one big move. The rest of it's going to be draft picks or, long-term projects or long shots to make the roster kind of prospects. So I guess getting back to today's game, though, Nicole, you guys obviously took lost 2-1, but what bright spots did you see today from the Islanders side of things?
Soroka. That's been my answer all season, right? Him. I think if you don't have him, you lose maybe 4-1. I mean, you can't ask for more from him. You have Wallstrom, who wasn't great. I would have liked him to get on the score sheet. It's been like quite a few games now, but he doesn't hesitate to shoot. And on an Islanders team, which doesn't shoot a lot, that's nice to see.
Yeah, I actually, one of the guys from the Islanders I was excited to watch today was Noah Dobson. I kind of was hoping to see what he could do. He had a bit of a quiet game, but he's been on a tear most of this season. I think, he's been comparable to Cale Makar over the last month and a half or so. But it seemed like he had kind of a quiet game, but he seems like a building block for you guys going forward.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're seeing sort of this offensive flourishing from him, which has been very exciting because we don't usually get a lot of offense from the blue line. But I think the Islanders have this phenomenon when, like, the defense, when it's not going well, no one plays well. And so you sort of see that leak over to Dobson. Even like Pelech, who usually is very solid, he had a relatively weak game for him. So you sort of see that trend going up and down the ice.
Do you think Char throwing him into the mix kind of ruined things a little bit?
A lot. I mean, to start off, like, let's ignore him as a player. He broke apart the best defensive pairing in the game because Pollock was babysitting him. Oh my God.
Well, you got to think Char is not coming back next year, right, Nicole?
Oh, if he does, I will pay for the billboard myself. We know how the last one went. Oh God!
Like I wanted, because the Islanders, they were looking fresh and they were looking young, and then they have like Parisi now stuff, and I'm like, what?
He's great. He's one player who has not looked his age at all. I mean, I think the consensus is you'd find like 90% of Islanders fans would love to have him back for like the same contract. He's been outperforming it by $4 million. I think looking at the last player card, he's been amazing.
8 goals, 16 assists, and 59 games for him. So it's not been terrible for Parisi. You're getting some decent production there.
He's playing he's been playing up and down the lineup. He's been with Barzy for a while, but before that, he was fourth line, third line, which was sort of like the shutdown lines. And he even played center when we needed him. I mean, there's not much more you can ask for someone on league minimum to do.
No, I mean, that's kind of what you look for in veteran additions. I mean, definitely better than most of our veteran additions this offseason, considering all the injuries we had. At least he's showing up and playing the games.
Exactly, and that sets him apart from someone like Chara, I think, who, as soon as we signed him, I said, this is nice. It's a good feel-good story. He's back where he started, but he cannot be in the top 4. And what do? He's in the top 4.
I wonder if this season was a wake-up call for him. He's already won the cup. He's accomplished almost everything you can, basically, as an NHL defenseman. So you have to feel like maybe he's ready to hang it up and, just call it a career.
I think Islanders fans are sort of hoping that's the case.
Kind of like when Allen Iverson came back to the Sixers. Instant.
Yeah.
Just a waste.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Not quite the swan song you want it to be. I think you see that a lot, though, where guys come back to where they started.
I feel like this sort of, just it's time.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes there's just times for guys to wrap it up. It doesn't always go well like that. But we touched on Dobson. Now, what did you think about the Flyers' defensive core today?
They looked the best that they have looked in a long time. I think Provorov was by far Provorov's best game in a while, and I don't know. Maybe there's a new mentality that now he's the guy because he would have been the guy after Drew left to take over this team, and maybe he realized that today. But we were getting our stick out. We weren't staring at the puck as we usually do. Like it didn't look like a power play or a penalty kill constantly. So I was impressed, and Hart didn't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, Hart had to make 26 out of 27 saves. Provorov 3 shots and 3 block shots over 23 minutes of ice time. So Provorov's an interesting name because we've heard all kinds of things as far as Provorov goes coming into the trade deadline. He's a young player with a lot of term left on his contract at a decent cap hit. And we've been hearing rumors that, he wants out of Philadelphia, that he might not want to be here. Nat, what do you think about Provorov getting moved?
I would not mind it, but I just hope you would get a good return, and we would get the return of the Provorov of old and not what we see this year. Because I'm hoping that this is just one bad year and that, he's not playing with Ellis, so I want to see that again. But I would not be upset about it because I don't think we're losing a stud, I once thought that,
I think a lot of people consider Provorov a stud at one point. And you mentioned not playing with Ellis, and that's something you hear that like, his best seasons were with the, a veteran next to him, Niskanen or, Ellis for a couple games this year. At some point, you want that guy to take the next step. Nicole, do you think Noah Dobson, your guy's stud defenseman, do you think he carries a defensive pair on his own, or does he need somebody there with him to rely on?
At his blossoming happened when most of our defense was gone. We were playing mostly AHLers, and that's when we sort of saw him step up. So I think actually having sort of a vet next to him kind of brings him down. I'd like to see him being given more responsibility going forward.
Oh, see, that's what we'd want to see from Provorov, but it always seems to be the opposite. And I don't know if it's in his head. It's got to be a mental thing to me because guys like Provorov, these guys that make the NHL and then play hockey their whole lives and have these expectations on them, they don't just forget how to play hockey. It's not like they woke up one morning and don't know what they're doing. They know how to play hockey, so it has to be in his head. I don't know if he's putting too much pressure on himself or if it's outside noise or if it's coaching. I don't know what it is Provorov. Now, what do you think is holding Provorov back right now?
I have no clue. But see, today we saw shades of old Provorov. He was stick handling very well. And the Flyers are afraid to take him off the power, even though he shouldn't be on there, because they're afraid they're going to hurt his mentality even more. I wish they would make a change with that.
Yeah, I think.
I can't tell you what's wrong with him though, because it's mental. He has the ability, and we saw it today.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I wish they would take him off the power play and just let him get back to playing simple hockey. Like, hey man, look, dude, just play 5-on-5. No power play, no penalty kill. We're gonna still have you on the top line. We're gonna still have you out there doing your job, but just focus. Just play your game that you knew. Simplify everything. Go back to what you do best. Play to your strengths. We're not going to sweat the special teams, all right? We're not going to ask too much of you. Just get back to playing the game that you played your whole life. Just get back to doing that. Don't overthink it. Don't do anything else. Just go ahead. Be a defenseman playing hockey. That's it. That's the end of it. You don't have to worry about anything else. I think that's exactly what you need. I think he would need a reset, something to kind of catch his breath. You know what I mean? Just go back to doing things that, he has confidence in. And I think that could help him grow as a player and get his head straightened out a little bit.
I don't know if maybe he doesn't take criticism well, because from the beginning, everyone was in love with him, and he played well from the beginning. Maybe now that he's become the man, maybe he can't handle that.
Yeah, who knows? Or like you said, with Giroux gone, and now he was supposed to be the man. Maybe today, some shackles came off for him. You know what I mean? G's gone. It's turning of a page. Maybe he felt a little bit looser or something like that. I mean, when he first came here, he was compared to Nick Lidstrom. Like that was the comparison from like day one. Like one of the best defensemen ever played a game, NHL Hall of Famer. We compared him to Nicholas Lidstrom. Like when you set the bar that high, like you're almost bound to fail.
Absolutely. And I think we do that with all of our young players here. We set them up to fail by building them up so much. I mean, you can say that about Frost. Frost is a very mediocre player, and we built him up to be a legend before he even, stepped on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more an indictment on the Flyers development staff than anything else. They just have a hard time developing prospects. But so Nicole, since we're talking prospects and young players, what do you feel about the Islanders organization and their player development and the prospects they have coming up and who you have faith in or who you don't have faith in?
Yeah, I mean, so our prospect pool and the development are two very different things. I think the prospect pool itself is underrated. Not a lot of stars, but I think we have some sneaky NHL caliber players there. On the development side of things, we have Brent Thompson, who cannot develop forwards. That's been an issue for a while. I think a lot of fans are sort of getting disenchanted with the way he's running our AHL team. Not enough focus on actually developing offensive players. But we got a huge steal with Aturatu in this past draft, and I think that he's a huge boon to the prospect pool, and a lot of fans are really excited about that. We have William Dufour, who's been tearing up the queue recently. A good young goalie, Salo, who's in the AHL right now. So there's definitely some talent, some potential there. It's just a matter of actually being able to turn them into NHL players.
Yeah, I mean, we know all about trying to turn prospects into NHL players and how that goes sideways for us. I couldn't really name our best homegrown talent besides Provorov. It's probably all we really got right now. I mean, Konechny, I guess. But I think, Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's really anybody on this NHL roster that we feel like has lived up to what they were built as or has reached their ceiling really.
Absolutely not. And they're all, to me, like even watching today, they played fine, but they're all kind of the same level to me. You can mix and match all the lines. You have JVR on the top line, he's the worst player on the team. So, I mean, we need that one stud, and I think we're gonna have to wait for him. But
well, I mean, you said a good point there that they're all based on the same player, and I think that's kind of what this. Unfortunately, I think that's what this franchise wants. This franchise loves these like the 200-foot players, the two-way forward, the play the game the right way. They never let anybody actually, play to what they were drafted to be. Nobody ever gets to be the offensive dynamo they were supposed to be. Like, Frost, you mentioned a little bit ago. Frost was supposed to be an offensive playmaker, a guy that's going to generate offense and generate scoring chances, but all they wanted to do is focus on being a checking forward. And if that's all you want someone to do, that's all they're going to be. Like, you can't expect someone to be this, offensive force and then tell them to play on the fourth line and to grind out shifts. Like, it just doesn't seem – it seems like they send contradicting messages.
And I fear that they're going to do that to Tippett.
I thought you were describing the Islanders.
I
thought you were describing the Islanders. That sounds exactly like the problem we have. I mean, you have Barzal forced to become a two-way forward. That's not what he is. You have Wahlstrom, who has been getting a lot limited ice time on the third line because they want him to be more defensively responsible. But he is someone who can shoot, and he is someone who can finish. And I feel like the system is holding these offensive players back, and it's just painful to see because you see the potential.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's exactly what this team does too. It's just this old school mentality of like, you have to earn your minutes, you know what I mean? Before you can, go be an offensive scorer, you have to learn how to, dig, grind in the corners, win battles along the boards, block shots. You have to play, 9, 10, 11 minutes a night on the fourth line, and then you can earn some penalty kill time. And then if you do that well, we'll slide you up to the third line, and maybe then we'll throw you on 12 seconds a night on the second power play unit. Like, it's just this old school mentality that, all these young guys, they need to earn their keep. So let's play these veterans like Jay JVR on the first line and not let some of these kids that we drafted with offensive talent to play offense?
Exactly.
I mean,
Josh
Nat,
Bailey is our extra attacker.
Nat, you were getting ready to jump in there earlier. I feel like you see things the same way as me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we're in love with our veterans. We always have been, and that has been. We've taken the confidence away from the young players by that. Because they're not looking at, if you're out there inspired watching JVR, I mean, what's going through your mind thinking, why can't I get his minutes? Why can't I be out playing with the best line? I mean, I'm better than he is. What's my problem? And, that's why, when they won't put Sanheim on the power play, I'm like, is he still earning his way onto the power play? I mean, they allow York to play on it. But I'm like, to me, I'm like, just put him out there, and that would make a ton of difference. And I don't understand. It drives me insane. Everyone has to earn everything. What do you just do what makes sense?
Yeah, just put people in position to succeed. And then when they do succeed, even in these condensed scenarios that you put them in, they do manage to succeed. And even when they have a good game, it's like, hey, we're going to send you back down to the AHL. Frost bounced back and forth multiple times, and sometimes it was after a good game. The guy would have a good game, we'd be talking about he looked like he was confident on the puck today. He looked like he was doing really good things today. And then we're like, he's going back down to the AHL. What happened here? What's going on? Well, we still need him to work on some things. What? The guy looked like he belonged the last 2 games. Why is he getting sent down now? It's so baffling to me. So where does that fall on? Does that fall on the front office? Is that the GM? Is that the head coach? Who do you think's making the call? Who's looking at things, making the decisions, going, oh, this guy can't play on my team right now?
I mean, I thought it was AV, but I can't say Yo he doesn't seem like he's the man right now.
No,
I thought, I think he's just, playing along with Chuck and everyone.
Yeah, well, Yo came out and was a little critical a week ago or a few days, 4 or 5 days ago, and then came out the next day and had to walk back his comments and apologize. So I think that right there showed you exactly what kind of authority Mike Yo has in this Flyers locker room. Hey,
every night, and I'm like, why are you positive every single night? You should get on this team, because it's not they don't have the ability. It's that they're just not hustling. They're not playing. It's being them all.
Yeah, well, like I said, the one time he did jump on them, he had to walk back his comments the next day. Because like I said, to me, that said all I needed to know about Mike Yo's standing. He's not calling any shots, I don't think. But over to you, Nicole. So, where do you think it falls for the Islanders between coaching staff and management? Who is it that's holding these players back as far as who's calling the shots? Is it Uncle Lou?
If I say anything bad, I think 2 men in black suits are going to go and shoot him in the head. But it's a mix. You have Trotz, who loves his vets. The kid's got a very short leash, which we've seen since he came over. And when the system works, it works, but it hasn't been working. Then you have Lou, who's been signing older players. We say he loves his vets. He loves his ex-Devils. And you need to see some fresh blood infused. So it's I don't think we can blame it on any one person. It's a mix of coaching and management. And I think they need to work together to sort of inject some young blood into this lineup, which has just been getting older year after year.
Are you surprised that Lou hasn't created a defensive powerhouse like he did with the Devils? That's what he was known for.
We have Pelech and Pollock now locked for 7 years on great contracts. They're the best defensive pairing in the league, and they've been playing together again. We have Dobson, who I think has the potential to win the Norris one day if he continues sort of this trajectory. The problem is that sort of Mayfield and then the 2 vets, they're very volatile, and we're missing offense. So I think if you're by focusing on defense, that's not really the issue right now. We've been able to play trap up until this year. Even we might not have been the Devils, but we were able to sort of play that boring trap style. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's very much offensive.
I think that's almost a trademark of Lou Larmel teams is a lack of offense. Like he builds his teams, like Natalie said, like it's defensive powerhouses. Um, and I think like for the last few years, like you mentioned, like the Islanders have been a quality defensive team, suppressing shots, limiting teams. You mentioned the trap. So you're saying that hasn't been the case this year? I mean, I've only watched so much of the Islanders.
No. I mean, like just today, the shot discrepancy that's been happening all year pretty much. You have games where if the goaltender lets in one goal, that's it. You sort of just know you're done for. That's been sort of like how the season's been. You have, I mean, Pollock was injured for a bit, but even to start off the season, they weren't playing together. So right there, the pairing that's been able to shut everyone down, they weren't doing that. You have Chara, who started off just taking a lot of bad penalties and not being reliable in his own zone. You have Mayfield, who also like lost his man a lot to start off. You have Dobson, who isn't that great defensively. I'm not afraid to say that. So you sort of that system fell apart.
Got you. So interesting. So I feel like Lou and Trotz, like defense is their trademark. Like Trotz made most of his career as the Predators head coach, basically creating defensemen like that. The National Predators became a defenseman factory under Trotz, and kind of became the identity of that team. So seeing him coaching a team that struggles defensively is kind of shocking. On the flip side for us, Natalie, a plus 10 shot differential is something new for us.
I know.
We've been averaging over 34 shots against the game. So having the Islanders get only 27 was huge for us. I don't know if we'll be able to keep teams under 30 shots against 30 shots on goal a game going forward. But I do think we saw some defensive improvement today from a defensive system standpoint.
Yeah, I still shows a problem, but watching him today a little bit, I'm like, he's still not a sturdy defenseman. Like he's not very grounded, and guys can skate around him. But then Sanheim might be the best player on the Flyers right now. So, and that might be Risto's fault, So
I'm all for. I mean, I said before on the show how much I am for the Sanheim Risto pair to stay together because I just love it as far as chaos that comes from that defensive pair. Anytime that pair lets in a goal, there's two different groups of people. One defending whatever Ristolainen did, and the other group killing him for whatever he did.
And it feels like a lot less of those goals are going into on the ice now. At the beginning of the season, it was always them. But now it's usually not those two.
That could be you could be looking at our top pair next year.
Well, now Dallas back. I mean, unless he's done for good. I mean, who knows what's going on with him? He's mysteried.
I forgot that he even existed, to be honest with you. What if I didn't see? Did you see if Philip Myers got claimed yesterday?
No, he passed.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have loved to have seen him come back to the Flyers right there.
No. No.
You wouldn't have loved that? We basically got Ryan Ellis for almost nothing.
No, I don't understand Phil Myers at all, and why people loved him so much. I couldn't stand him. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, he
was like a fan favorite. I mean,
it's one of those things where he's a bunch of like, you see the potential there with that. He had the makings of like what could be an amazing defenseman, and it was all potential and hope with him. He's one of those guys that you sell to the fan base that what he can be, even if he never develops. The difference would be if he comes back as a waiver claim after we traded him for a guy, there would be no expectations. Like he could be like a really good seventh defenseman, and people would be okay with that. I think because you wouldn't expect any more out of him.
My biggest disappointment this entire year might be Sam Morin. Because I was so excited last year watching. I was so excited. I was to see what he would bring this year. And we might never
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're ever going to see Sam
Yeah,
Moore.
we're never gonna see him.
Yeah, he's another one that we're not even sure if he exists anymore.
Yeah.
Or with our luck, what'll happen is he'll end up going to the Islanders and becoming, a 10-time All-Star or something like that.
Yeah.
He'll fill that role that they need for a defensive defenseman out there.
Yeah. We haven't talked about this. What did you think of it? Did you think the Flyers got fleeced?
For the Giroux trade?
Yes.
Well, all right. So some of the things I heard was that Giroux basically only wanted to go to Florida. So if that was the case and Florida knew that, there was nothing that Chuck could really do. Like it was either keep Giroux or get whatever you could for him, and that's what he ended up doing. That being said, the other part of that, and I think it was on Snow the Goalie was the podcast that said it, that basically Drew goes, hey, listen, I want to come back in the offseason. Is that something that can happen? And Chuck Fletcher goes, no. And then Drew's response to that was, well, then I only want to go to Florida. Like, I was going to work with you, but now I only want to go to Florida. In which case, I'm not even mad at Drew. Like, you have a no movement clause for a reason, so you can use it. So, if that's how the conversation went, and they're like, oh, no, we don't think we have a spot for you next year. All right, no problem then, man. Like, send me to Florida, get whatever you can get. I'm out of here.
For a rental player who's 34 years old and you don't need him on the Panthers, you score the most goals in the league. He's a luxury for you right now.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're the Panthers, anything up, and people are like, oh, Sherrod, they got a first round in 2023 for him. They needed, he's going to play on the top pair for them. I know they lost that trade in a sense, but it's still helping them win this year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
I don't see what people are complaining about that,
Yeah. I mean, as far as the Sherrod trade goes, they're two different things. Especially, the Sherrod trade looks even better for Florida now in hindsight because Ekblad got banged up and they don't know the extent of that injury. But even before that, like you said, Sherrod was going to play on the top pair. So Florida, when it came to the Giroux, that is exactly 100% a luxury move. They made that move because they want to go win right now. Like, there is no win one playoff series. Anything less than a Stanley Cup is a disappointment for them now.
And I'm glad that we have that 2024 pick to maybe do something in the offseason to get a good player who's ready to play now. Use that pick.
Yeah, I think for sure that's going to be flipped in the offseason. Nicole, you look like you're getting ready for your engagement that you told me you had going on before the show. So, is your time with us winding down?
The table's ready, but I'm here for however long you want me.
No, we're good. We probably got about 10, 15 more minutes left. So if you just want to go ahead and dip out, you're good. We understand.
Okay, perfect. That would be good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, enjoy your event there.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good one, Nicole.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, she messaged me. She's like, hey, listen, she goes, I had these dinner plans. They got moved up now, so I'm going to have to do the show on my way to dinner. I'm like, all right, sounds good.
No. It's nice to get an Islanders, person for that game.
Yeah, I always try to get as many different guests as I can. We, I guess, quick plug real quick for the show coming up on Tuesday. 4-time Stanley Cup champ Darren McCarty's coming on. HW at night. Yeah, after the Flyers Red Wings game.
Wow. That's a mega Red Wing right there.
Yeah, that was about. I actually been trying to get him since we started HW at night back in the beginning of February. We started out with 2 Red Wings games back to back, and I was trying to get him for one of those. And him and his people are super cool, like actually awesome guys right there. They're like, oh, that one doesn't work. What about this one? I'm like, oh, you know what? He's got this going on. Like, stay in touch. So I went and did some other stuff for a week or two, reached back out, and they stayed in communication, checking in, trying to make it work. And we finally were able to coordinate and get it set up. So just a great group of guys. I'm looking forward to the show. But, so quick plug for HW at night on Tuesday. Darren McCarty coming on about 10:30 Eastern, following the Flyers Red Wings game. But, back to the Giroux trade. So I think we talked about it from the Florida side for the most part, but you have to think the Flyers did the best they could right now. Like, do you have any complaints with what they got?
No, absolutely not. What do we have? We could have lost to G in the offseason anyway. What do we have to lose? A couple picks and a player who's probably seems pretty good and will help us. I don't think we lost at all.
There was definitely some people that were super down on Tippett being the main like piece of the trade that just didn't think he was enough.
It's a
But
3-month player. What? I mean, what do you expect to get for him? And the 50% salary thing and stuff like that. But that doesn't bother me at all.
yeah, I mean, again, that's just for the rest of the season. Like you said, it's 3 months worth of a player. And I mean, I guess there's always a possibility he does still come back in the offseason. I don't know what the exact conversation was between Chuck and Giroux. I was talking with some guys about it earlier today, though. And if the conversation was something like this, Chuck goes, "Hey, where do you want to go?" And Drew goes, "Well, listen, I don't know where I want to go exactly. I'm like, but I want to come back in the offseason." Chuck goes, "Oh, no, we're not going to do that." If that was the message Chuck sent, and then Drew was like, "Oh, well, screw you then. Like, this is where I want to go. This is the only place I want to go. Good luck getting a good deal." Again, I have no problem with Drew swinging that around because, again, you don't give a guy no movement clause if he's not going to use it, right? But if the conversation wasn't quite that, like, hard, if it wasn't that, like, cut and dry, if Drew's like, "Hey, like, what do you think about me coming back in the offseason?" And Chuck's like, "Oh, well, listen, like, I don't know. I haven't even got there yet. I'm just trying to get through the trade deadline. Like, we can definitely revisit that later." And in that case, Drew's like, "Well, look, then, man, I know you got some other offers, but like, I think Slaughter's really what I want to go." Like, those are two different conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those two people can walk away with two different perspectives of that conversation. So who knows if Drew, what was said, how he walked away. But if we traded Drew for 3 months worth of games, and then he comes back in the offseason at a decent deal anyway, like, then we fleeced him. It was absolutely a win. We just got a bunch of assets. Yeah. And we still have Giroux and he wasn't doing anything for us this year anyway because we weren't going to make the playoffs. So it's a win. If he ends up coming back here in the offseason, it's a 110% win for Chuck Fletcher.
But I don't think I want him back. It's only one day. But first of all, I wasn't that upset when he went because I really think we need to end the era. We need to start in a new direction. And I think we'll just go back to the old ways if he comes back.
So you're all about the PG era then?
What's that?
I said you're all about the PG era then, the post-Giroux era. That's where we're at.
PG era. The PG. I am. I've seen the same. We've seen the same thing for how many years, making the playoffs every other year. And I don't know what the next moves are to make us a better team, but we need to move on.
Yeah, somebody posted out there about who we have coming up and just listed all the prospects. Prospects or people that are already playing, but Frost, Forster, Tippett, York, Zamola, Bobby Brink. Like, sometimes when you look at I try not to get suckered into the hope because like that's all it is. It's hope because they haven't proven anything yet. But when you look at it sometimes and you see kind of what they've done, and it's nice to daydream about it. And man, if some of these guys do hit their ceiling, which I think is a big if considering this organization, but there's definitely talent in these young players and the guys we have coming up. And who knows, man? I mean, Bobby Brink could make the team out of training camp next year.
Yeah, and I love the excitement of that because we're not going to reel in any free agents. No one's going to play here. And I don't even think there's anyone who's going to be all that exciting available, quite honestly, to make this team better.
It's when it comes to free agents, it's so hard to project that because like you have guys on expiring contracts right now. It's like, oh, this is what the free agent class looks like. And then once the season's over, all these guys start re-signing with their clubs and just one or two of them makes there. So it's hard to even project that. But you said something about nobody wanting to come here. And that bothers me because my whole life, Philadelphia has been like a hockey town and a free agent destination, like a place free agents wanted to come to. And that just doesn't exist anymore, I don't think.
Remember when Roenick came here and he's like how exciting it was to wear the big P on his jersey, how excited he was? Like, that made me feel so good. And you knew you had such a, they haven't been around, like, they only been around since 67 or whatever, but they're a historic franchise already.
Yeah. And Roenick was he was a guy who had such a great personality and came here buying the ticket to sit in the stands and sit there and watch the game, when he was hurt, like things like that. But I don't think this franchise has the allure anymore. And it's a shame. Like, whether it's just, I don't know if it's a lack of winning culture or a lack of just, reverence for the history anymore. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think this franchise in this city is a destination anymore.
And I think other players see the inconsistency of the league, of this team. I mean, it's, a team that makes up the playoffs every other year. Why would you want to go play with that? I mean, you're not a constant loser, but you're not a constant winner either. You're not going to, like, it's just, there's no certainty when you come here. And I think people know that now.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, winning tradition really does count for something, especially when you're playing in the best league in the world and competing against the best athletes in the world. A franchise that can consistently make the playoffs. Like, there's a reason that Detroit was a destination for a long time, and people would waive no trade clauses or go sign 1-year deals in Detroit. It wasn't because of the city. It wasn't like the food in the city or the culture there. It's because they knew if they went to Detroit, they were making the playoffs, and all you had to do was get in the dance, and then you had a shot. And we used to be a similar kind of team like that. It used to be like, listen, if you go to Philly, you know what I mean? You're going for the playoffs. Like, missing the playoffs isn't acceptable. I mean, it's not something that, is tolerated around here. And unfortunately, over the last 10 years, it's become something that's, just commonplace now that, yeah, we miss the playoffs, we make the playoffs. It is what it is.
Yeah, we're never a favorite when we do make the playoffs. It's like, oh, the Flyers can make a run here. No one ever thinks that. It's like, congratulations, you made it.
Yeah. Even the 1 year we did make a run to the Stanley Cup Finals, we weren't a favorite. We got in on the last game of the season in a shootout.
Yeah.
But from what you were saying early in the show, this team looked good today. They looked like a confident team. They looked like a team with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they played a good game. And if that's the team we're going to get for the rest of the season going forward, it'll be the best part of the season. If the next 20 games is going to be a team playing like that, win, lose, it'll be worth watching them. They'll be a quality team to at least enjoy watching the games again.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and watch games like today all year. I would have enjoyed my life, Yeah. I wouldn't have been an angry person if I saw what I saw today.
I was definitely the least miserable I've been all year watching this game compared to the rest of the games.
Because they could have went in the complete opposite direction, and we would have not been surprised whatsoever.
Yeah.
This was surprising how well they played today.
100% surprising for me. I literally wrote about how their mental fortitude hasn't been there all season, and I expected them to wilt today. Like, I had zero faith in them showing up and doing what they did today.
I mean, and I think the Islanders helped a bit. I don't think the Islanders played all that well today.
Yeah, and that was another thing that was surprising. The Islanders, the way they played, I expected them to bring more. They had won 5 of their last 6 games. Like, they were playing at an exceptional level coming into this game. So, if you had told me that the final score of this game was 2-1 and one team outshot the other 37-27, I said, oh yeah, that sounds about right for the Islanders beating the Flyers. Like, I would have thought it would be 100% flipped.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the Islanders still had great goaltending against us like they always do, and we still managed to win because our defense was solid.
Yeah.
Can say that.
It's
refreshing, but I guess we don't need you. Like,
Yeah, Sorokin, he's been good. Oh, man.
But I feel like the Islanders goaltenders, they see both of them. They as soon as they see the Flyers, like, okay, this is going to be my day to dominate every single time.
Yeah, I mean, Sorokin's had some good games. He had a shutout on March 10th, 39 of 42 shots on March 13th. He coming into this game, he'd won 4 straight. So, I mean, no, he was playing good coming into this game. So him delivering a quality performance doesn't surprise me at all. But you're right. It seems like anytime that, Islanders play the Flyers, they're going to get quality goaltending regardless of who it is. They can call up the Zamboni driver and have him throw him some pads, and he, put up, 29 out of 30 saves.
Yeah, I mean, the goals the Hayes scored today, they're hard to stop. There was defensive breakdowns.
Yeah. Well,
the one be created that, the Aho,
Yeah. Well, even that one, Hayes did his best to shoot that into the glove of Sorokin, like, like an inch and a half higher, and that's just a highlight reel save with Sorokin as opposed to a goal for Hayes.
Yeah.
Well, now we're pushing up on the 50-minute mark, so I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Any monologue you want to give, any speech, anything you want to hype up? The floor is yours.
I just don't sell the parts, don't sell the team. Stay the course, everyone. Don't get so angry. We do have good players here, and this year has been very weird. And I think, with a nice summer off, I think we can come back refreshed. And we might have a great team that makes the playoffs next year. You don't know. But don't get so down. That's my advice.
I love to hear the positivity. It's nice. I'm usually trying to pull positivity out of everybody, so I'm glad to hear positivity coming from somebody else. It's nice to hear. It's refreshing. I'm glad to hear that giving back. It's nice. All right, High and Wide fam. For Natalie, I'm Delco Dave. Thanks for hanging out with us.